You are now listening
to the Black Male Educators Alliance podcast.
Lifting our voices.
Lifting our voices.
We are back. Welcome to Lifting Our Voices, a BMEA podcast. Before we get started, I just want to send a great thank you, shout out to everybody who watched the first episode last week. Personally, and I don't know what you guys think, I think there's going to be a bigger episode. Obviously, it's live, but we do have a special guest coming today. Dr. Chris Emdin always brings the energy, so I hope everybody is still awake. I know we probably all had a long night watching election coverage, and we are certainly going to touch on that. So we got Dr. Emdin. We're going to touch on the election. We're going to hear from a student who's experiencing his senior year of high school within the pandemic and virtual learning, and talk a little bit about that. But before we jump into all of that, gentlemen, how are we? I'm tired, but how are you guys?
I'll just kind of kick it off, man. I've been working, obviously, but I didn't have CNN up on the second screen, and I've been telling all my boys, like, listen, Michigan, we gonna do it. And it was just announced maybe an hour and a half ago that Biden did with Michigan. It's not a political podcast, but I've been tracking. I feel like a political expert. I'm like, listen, the absentee vote's gonna come through, and it came through. So shout out to Detroit, shout out to Michigan, and we'll talk more. But that's how I'm feeling. So that gave me a lift, man. I was up to like 2 a.m. yesterday.
I'm glad to shout out Detroit, but I think it's very important that we shout out the young voters in Detroit, the first-time voters in Detroit. Now, I'm not, just like you, Chris, I'm not a political expert, but what I imagine is the kids, the 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are voting for the first time, 21-year-olds, they showed up. When I was at the polls yesterday, I saw them there. I talked to kids that alumni of my school that voted. So just shout out to all of the first-time voters who felt it very necessary to show up. Mike.
Yeah. I mean, I did absentee ballot. That was my first time voting in Michigan, and I dropped it off.
Count your ballot.
Huh? No, I dropped it off. I dropped it off 3 weeks ago, man. Now they counted my ballot, so I didn't get the rush of voting in person, but I did my part. And yesterday I kind of tried to tune out a little bit from social media, man. I had a lot going on. I've been moving and school and all those things, so trying to keep, like I said, my mental space. But I'm glad to see that Biden was making some progress, and I'm actually really glad that people are being more educated in the political process. I think that's super important. We know historically that it hasn't been that way, so it's important for everybody as citizens to just know a lot more about the political process.
Yeah, we still got a long way to go, though, because I've been watching some stuff on social media. People got wrong information. We need 205. The electoral college, I was like, oh God. So, I appreciate the engagement. So, I'm always like, let's make sure we speaking facts before we start just spewing stuff out there. So, I'm tired too. I'm tired in a lot of ways, but, sure Chris Emdin to touch on some of this stuff when he gets on. But, again, we don't try to get into politics here, but politics is everything, so there's no way around it. And I'm a little disappointed. I'm gonna leave it that way. I'm a little disappointed. It's making it real clear about this organization is important.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we got a little bit of time before we jump into the next segment with Mr. Emdin. So for those of you who don't know, Dr. Emdin, excuse me. For those of you who don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe myself, I'm from Washington, D.C. Payne, you're a transplant to Detroit. Is that correct?
Correct.
Home is
Delaware, but I came from Baltimore before here.
Baltimore. Okay, and Curtis, you rep where? What city you rep? Just say it so everybody knows. Go ahead.
The greatest city in the country.
Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't know that. I thought Detroit was Detroit. He from Detroit.
Yeah, but I've been in Detroit just as much, but I do always will rep Chicago, but I am Detroit as well. Chicago first. Let's be clear.
I got a question, but the three of us are gonna sit this out. Chris, just as a Detroiter native, what I've seen on social media and in the news today is that this election ultimately is going to come down to Philadelphia, right, Detroit, and Milwaukee. And so I just, have a moment, express, if you have any pride in your city, you just want to express. I know we touched on it a little bit, but this is your moment. You're the Detroiter.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm going to say this. I had a moment, and I texted Curtis this last night. They start calling states early, right? Minutes in. I was like, man, how is it that you can call a state for Trump in like minutes? I'm like, and it just kind of, and obviously that's going to happen in the election, but it really hit me. Like, I was like upset, like, man, millions of people still vote for this guy after all of this. But back to the Detroit thing, I feel it, man, because listen, never before have I had a family group chat. We checking in, people voting early. My wife voted early, and I think people just really felt that their vote was attempted to be suppressed, and people wanted their voice, their vote, and their voice to be heard. So I literally had, we were on each other's head in my family group chat. People who don't normally vote, people sending in their stickers and things like that. So I was proud, and I'm proud that we came through when they was showing the stats, like Wayne County. I knew those. It was clear that the numbers weren't showing up yet. So I'm happy people got out and voted early, like record numbers. So let's keep it going. Like local elections coming up in a couple years. Let's keep it going. Let's keep this moving because we have a voice and we need to make sure it's heard on all levels.
Absolutely.
And to that point too, man, with the local elections, we made a lot of progress with new younger activists getting elected to like office, and I think that's important. Even after this race, we continue to like stay on the keep our foot on the necks with this government and getting people that represent our true intentions, our true needs in office, not just president, but the Congress and all those things. Judges, we need. There's a lot that we need to change for sure. Continuing to work.
So
election over, like
I know. No. So I've got a question for you. So obviously, and we were talking about this before we came on today. What we weren't going to say is that the election is over, right? We can still be proud of Detroit, understanding there's still some work to do, right? Curtis, you kind of touched on it, that you were disappointed, right? So when you think about what this election kind of represented, it represents the pandemic. In some ways, it represents the state-sanctioned violence against folks of color. So with all of that said, 50% of the nation is going to ultimately end up voting for Trump. Is that where your disappointment comes from, Curtis?
Yeah, I don't, so here's the thing. I'm independent, right? So I don't it's not even about Democrat. I tell people all the time, it's not about being a Democrat or being a Republican. Like, this wasn't an election for me, period. Right? It was about like humanity, right? And I just I'm not shocked. Like, people are like, oh, I'm not shocked. I'm just like this. I'm like, oh, it's a reminder, right? So that trauma you go through saying, oh man, we ain't there yet. Oh man, and so I'm at that place of like, we shouldn't even be close. If we're all like looking out for humanity, and we're United States of America, and we're all about these rights and liberties that we have, it's like the fact that this human that is in office, I don't care if he was a Democrat, I don't care who he was, what he looked like, this man is not good for this country, right? And for that to be like, this race to still be close and undecided is just an indictment on this. It's indictment on this country, and it's not like I'm not one of people. Oh, I love this country. There's a lot of, and because I love this country, I want it to be better, right? And so it's just that level of disappointment for me that I just wish it just wasn't the case. But it's a reminder. I was in my space for a minute, and I'm like, let's go. So,
but to be clear, were you surprised?
No, no, I'm not surprised. It is a reminder. It's like it's reliving trauma again, just being who we are in this space. So it's not like a surprise. Oh my God, I'm shocked. It's just like, oh dang. It's like, and all these, and I said this on a post on Facebook, on social media months ago. I said, if this is not a landslide, all this protest and all these people like, oh, we're standing for Black lives. It's watch. Somebody posted this on Facebook, like, watch your neighbors.
Right.
And I loved it. So anyway, I go on.
Yo, to his point too, I saw a graphic that said every demographic besides white men increased their number of votes for Trump this year from 2016. Like black men, black women, Latino men, Latino women, white women, everyone increased the percentage of votes for Trump this year from 2016. The only one that went down demographically was white men. So that's crazy to me. That was a disappointing thing to see for sure.
What do you think that means, though, Payne?
That people don't get it. People don't get it. It's children locked in cages still, right? It's women that at the border who were getting, their bodies things done to them that they didn't ask for. 40% of the people down there are Haitian, can't get in this country, right? We forgot about the Muslim ban. He banned a religion of people. You know what I'm saying? Like all that police things about
So
people forgot. I don't know what's going on.
But look, we got Dr. Emdin is here, so let's get to him. They ain't coming to hear us today.
You're right about that.
So let me introduce our guest for today. I'm super excited to introduce Dr. Christopher Emdin. He's an associate professor in the Department of Mathematics, Science, and Technology at the Teachers College at Columbia University. This brother is a social critic, public intellectual. When I say a public intellectual, that is who he is. He's a science advocate whose commentary on issues of race, culture, and inequality in education have appeared in dozens of influential periodicals, including the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post. Now, I ain't gonna spend all our time with him giving his bio. This man is brilliant. I am super excited to have him join us for a few minutes today, as well as 90 minutes on Saturday. So without further ado, let's welcome to the squad, Dr. Chris Emdin.
What's popping, beloved? You know what I mean? I appreciate the invitation, and I didn't even realize that this is like the one podcast after the inaugural one. So I feel honored and blessed. You know what I mean? I'm feeling special. I got chose. You know what I mean? So I'm really humbled to join y'all, man. So thanks for the invite.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. Emdin, is that how you want to be acknowledged? You have a preference?
Whatever makes you comfortable, man. It's Dr. Emdin, it's Chris, whatever. I'm good with that. You know, I find it really fascinating that you asked that, and I want to jump in too much into the whole talk. You know, I feel as though I only use the doctor title if I feel disrespected.
Talk about it.
You know what I mean? Like, if we kicking it, Chris is good.
That's right.
You know, I reserve the credentials to when somebody is trying to act out of character. You know what I mean? But otherwise, man, I'm good with whatever makes you comfortable.
Appreciate that. So I don't know if you heard us before you came on. We were talking about the election.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's still undecided. You know, people are saying things here and there. Just what's your take on the last 24, 36 hours?
First of all, y'all had me waiting in the wings, and you was dropping bars, and I was like, "Damn, I can't get in this cipher."
Yeah.
So I was like, I wanted to be in right away. I think all the perspective you guys shared is so authentic and so powerful, and they capture exactly where I am. But one thing that I made sure that I did before we went through the sort of news cycle and the bated breath waiting for another state to possibly flip, and the whole sort of media narrative is one, I recognized that narrative was going to come to bear anyway. And I also knew that the conversation about the election and how it plays out on a news cycle is not separate from a larger capitalist agenda to have us all tuned in while the commercials run and somebody's making bread off of our anticipation. So I'm well aware of the dynamics. I'm well aware of the power play, and I'm well aware of the manipulation of Black interest in the sort of conversation about how they've been pushed to the margins and how that persistently plays out, and how we always have to come through in a clutch to save this nation, and then that gets forgotten once folks have power. So, for me, I just been operating from a recognition, like the good doctor shared earlier, of where we are. Not operating from a place of shock, operating from a place of centeredness, recognizing where we are, who we are, but most importantly, also recognizing that, man, I don't care, 45 state or the other cat roll in, the work that needs to get done still got to get done. And I think oftentimes we relegate the sort of like onus to folks who exist in sort of political faction, when in reality, they may be more apt to listen to the voices of the communities But we oftentimes also get so caught up in leaving it to them. They were like, oh man, he got in. Whoa, you bugging? The work just needs to get done regardless. Like, you know, and it doesn't matter who's in power. What matters is that folks in communities recognize that they hold power. And sometimes when you give power up to somebody else and you say, do it, we're good, you rob yourself of the opportunity to do the work to sort of be a catalyst for change. And catalysts for change don't ever stop. It's a perpetual process, a perpetual cycle. So, you know, I ain't too high, I ain't too low. I'm centered in who I am and what we need to get done as a community. I'm centered in recognizing that, you know, you may have an air of somebody, but you always got an air of somebody. I mean, you know, I'm gonna stop real quick and let y'all build, but you know, listen. Wayne had an air, little pimp. You know what I mean? He had an air. You know what I mean? Little brother Cube had an air. The idea is this: power will always concede to those who've been marginalized if they feel as though giving an air to the marginalized gives them an opportunity to be able to have more power. Yeah. And once you understand that piece, then you recognize that the work needs to get done, gets done anyway. And you know what we got to talk about too is when you understand that, you know, the interest of Black bodies in this moment allows the news cycle to continue, and also the interest of Black bodies in this moment allows our griots to become political pawns in their agenda. That whether you're talking about watching the news cycle or the manipulation of folks who we consider to be representatives of us to be used as pawns, like all of that stuff is an extension of the same narrative. Like the playbook don't change, and what we got to do is not fall for the play. So I'm gonna stop there so we can build more. But you know, y'all got me in my bag because y'all opened up. You know what I mean? Dropping these bars.
We got to follow up, and then we want to jump into, you know, you giving us a little preview about what's happening this weekend. But you know, not everybody can be as centered as you. You know, I like to believe I'm centered about all of this. So when we think about educators, especially educators who are supporting young Black kids, right? What is your advice for those folks?
I mean, one is to claim power. Yeah. Like, and I, you know, while I like, so here's the thing, like, cats always be like, yo, Dr. E, like, you know, I ain't, you know, I'm not that censored, or, you know, like I don't know that much. Like, we all know a lot about a lot. Mm-hmm. We just need to take the moment to be able to really think critically about where we are. Like, censoredness is not a point of arrival. Censoredness is just the time to be able to censor itself in belief system. So I always say to educators, my one advice to educators is to recognize the power they hold. In a world where Black bodies are assaulted, in a world where folks who occupy, you know, political positions are anti-Black, in a world where globally hyper-capitalism has become the narrative. Like, look, we in a world right now where in the UK they toppling statues, in the US we protesting, in Nigeria there's an anti-police state. Like, we're in a global political moment where those who've been historically marginalized need to reclaim power. So to educators is to understand that the one place that the most powerful work can happen to push the movement forward is the classroom. Like, everywhere else has done what they're supposed to do and it ain't work. Politics did it. Advertising did it. Folks who are in economics did it. Academia did it. Everybody else has, and they've put their attempt out there to be able to change the existing narrative to ensure Black and brown bodies to have agency and reimagine the possibilities of what this country or this world could look like. The only place where folks who have power have not fully claimed their power in a pursuit of bending towards the arc of justice is the classroom. So my advice to educators is recognize first that if you're in the classroom, that's the chief act of protest. Pedagogy is protest. Teaching is transformative practice. So when you go in there, you're not following scripts. You're not following lesson plans. You ain't following curriculum. If you do that, then you're just an extension of the same system that's been broken. But in the classroom, reimagining who we are, whose we are, the power we hold, the possibilities to transform the lives of young folks. When we sit in the space to recognize the power of pedagogy, like the transformative power of teaching, like where else in the world do you have human beings who have the next generation sitting there waiting for you to guide them towards new possibilities? Ain't nowhere else in the world. Ain't no other job in the world. There's no one else that has the power educators hold. So you know, my advice to educators is, man, you gotta recognize who you are. What profession in the world is there to impact the course of life other than the classroom than to be a teacher? Like, name me one. Ain't no answers. What other field is there in the universe where if you implant something into the psychology of young folks, you can reimagine how they see themselves and society? Name me one. Teaching. So when educators understand that we're the last frontier to invoke change, you ain't signed up to teach nobody. You signed up for a revolutionary work. And once you understand that, you don't take that job lightly. And once you understand the significance of the moment, how you're constructing legacy in this moment, you know what's right to do. You just start doing it. But cats don't know. You know what I mean? We it's not like we don't pursue our legacy. We are unaware of our power and legacy. You know what I mean? And as Black folks in particular, you know what I mean? Like y'all gonna have me get my whole keynote.
Man,
I gotta wear my camera now. I'm so hyped. You know what I mean? Like, look.
Hey, my question was gonna be, what can we expect? But I think everybody knows what we can expect now on Saturday, man. Like, you touched on so many good points, man. And we want to reimagine education, especially in this space where it's super political and I think the world is globalized, like you said. We can see everything now, and our kids can see it. I think that's even more important. So, just speak a little bit more to that, like you were saying. Like, what does it mean for education now?
Beloved, like, yo, like, this is like, I don't want, this is not hyperbole. And I think sometimes when I engage with folks, people are like, yo, like, you know, does he mean it? Like, this is not hyperbole. This is the moment. Like, at what other point in history is all the information accessible, the oppression visible, the system transparent, and white supremacy on full display? Where else in our time have all that combination of phenomena been that present? There's none there now. Like, this is it. And if we betray our legacies in this moment, I can't even close that. I'm gonna just put ... because this is the moment. Like, young folks are so aware. IG will show you police brutality. You know what I mean? Like, they, like, you know, the idea of like hiding it from them, or they're unaware. They got Twitter. They seen old boy with misspellings calling out white supremacists. Like, I was on my IG yesterday. I had a 13-year-old on. He was like, yeah, because I understand what the adults are doing and how they, like, 13-year-olds have such unique insight. It's all in front of them. Our job in this moment as adults is to guide them towards freedom. So, you know, Mike, like, man, like, it's now, bro. Like, there's no other time. There's no like, oh, well, you know, what will the next folks do? It's now.
Man,
you know, when we talked about this, getting you on the day after the election, we was like, man, this can be really important. And I think you being here in this time, just even for me personally, knowing where my head was this morning, and the first time I went to Instagram, I saw your post. And you know, it was on Facebook. You had posted something on Facebook about the work continues, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yes, that's what we need to hear, because I think so many of us, like I was explaining earlier, like it's the and I say trauma, right? Because it's like another like step against the head of like, man, like, dang, y'all, you know, we saw this man being chosen, like for real, right? And then we still, right? And so it's just this constant reinforcing of like the work we got to do, and it gets tiring. So like your energy is important, and it's even more important today. So what would you say, real quick? I know we wrapping up time here. What would you say to our teachers, like when our kids are coming back into these school space, in this space now, knowing what's happening, seeing what's happening with the election, right? What advice or support should we be providing teachers and how to engage with this work with their students?
You know, the first thing I would say is radical honesty and the incorporation of radical honesty into the curriculum. So historically, what we've done is we've tried to be apolitical, and we've said, you know, let's hide this from the babies. Like, let's save this for the conversation with adults. And I think in this moment where they're already accessing things, when they can already see it, and we choose not to engage in it, we come off to them as hypocritical. And a young person will never learn from somebody who they feel is not real. You know, the chief currency for any young person is that you keep it a buck. They don't care if you sound like them, look like them, act like them. They don't like, you know what I mean? Like they you know, they'll call you an old head, or they'll call you whatever else it is. But what young folks admire more than anything else is authenticity. It's truth. It's that who you are in front of me is who you are when you leave me. And because authenticity is the chief currency. And so for me in this moment is be authentic, be real, and be vulnerable. Like if you hurting, say, yo, I'm hurting right now, but I'm trying to get it right. You know, what advice do you guys have that I can use in this moment? Once young folks see that vulnerability and that honesty in the pursuit of content, and I want to say this part too, because I think oftentimes folks misperceive my belief in, you know, I call it a Pentecostal pedagogy. You know what I mean? Because here's the thing, as Black folks, historically from the beginning of time, the folks who've always been the leaders of the community have been our preachers and our teachers. And our preachers had to know how to teach. Otherwise, you weren't going to keep that congregation. And our teachers had to know how to preach, because otherwise you don't talk to the souls of young folk. So for me, it's like when you engage in a Pentecostal pedagogy of vulnerability in a pursuit of content knowledge, right? I think people think like, you know, the content is separate. Now, I could be radical, honest, vulnerable as we learn how to balance this equation. You know what I mean? And so I think it's the melding of those things, radical vulnerability, still high expectations, content and compassion, you know what I mean? Like truth and truth telling, you know what I mean? Like the combination of those things, like the gumbo of authenticity pedagogically is the next frontier.
Awesome. Man, this has been great. I know, you know, this is just a little snippet of what we're going to see on Saturday, man. We are looking forward to it. We're super excited about having you join us on Saturday, because I know the conversation is going to continue. So we appreciate
man. We just going to flow, bro. We're going to flow.
We appreciate you, and we're looking forward to it. Thank you. And in another 72 hours or so, we'll see you again.
Before I go, I want to say this to y'all, right? Because I know it's your second joint. In 35 seconds, I felt the energy, the brotherhood, the community, the camaraderie, like the vibe is so lit. And so I wish you guys so much with this platform. And I pray that it does what it's supposed to do for you guys and for the community who engages with you. And I'll catch y'all in a couple hours.
Appreciate it.
Hey, we appreciate you, man.
All right.
Appreciate you, bro. See you soon, man.
So if you were on the fence about registering for Saturday because you thought, you know, you had an errand to run or whatever the case may be, I hope, you know, that short time we just spent with Dr. Emdin convinces you that on Saturday from 9:30 to 11:30, you will join us to just have a conversation about where do we go from here, reimagining the classroom at our latest Black Male Educator Alliance convening. So again, we're Saturday, 9:30 to 11:30. You can register at bmeaofmichigan.org/events. And we can't wait to see you all there to finish that conversation. So gentlemen, any real quick reactions to anything that you heard, anything that stood out to you guys before we bring our next guest in?
Hey, I'm so excited, man. I can't wait to hear from the student now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I think, you know, he just brought it back. Like the students are at the center of this work that we're trying to do, right? And so I'm looking forward to taking the energy, and I wish we could have had them on together. That would have been nice. Next time. But no, I'm. This is what, you know, Dr. M. This is what he does. So I needed to hear that today. I think the timing was perfect.
So, you know, for anybody who's watching who may not be an educator, it's a tough time for us who are trying to do our jobs virtually. So anytime, and you all, you know, if you disagree, say something, but anytime we get an opportunity to really engage with the student these days, we're really excited about that. And so I do want to introduce Ronald Black. He is a Detroit kid, a student at University Prep Art and Design High School. And we're just excited to have him. So Ronald, it is good to see you. Almost
Ronald, are you out there? No, he had just kind of got off. Let me see if he can hear us. Ronald, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
We hear you. We can't see you though.
Can't see me? All right, let me get that together.
Let's get the camera on. There we go.
There we go.
See me now?
Like that virtual class.
All
Here we
right,
go,
in all my glory.
Black man.
First of
So-
all, go ahead.
Oh, so
Sorry
Ronald,
about that.
obviously I introduced your name to folks. Senior at University Prep Art and Design High School here in the middle of Detroit. But tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am not. First of all, I'm not a resident from Michigan. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I came down here when I was of the age of 7. So, I had best of both worlds, different cities, and man, being in the city of Detroit gave me a lot of outlook as far as culture. Man, a lot of culture is here, and as far as the school systems, is totally different than when I was in Pittsburgh. So, just to give you that background, I see the difference. I know the difference between what we're going through now during the virtual way, and in the classroom way. That's being in Detroit and in Pittsburgh as well.
Cool. You're not a Steelers fan, are you?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to let you guys know that that insert by Edmund with Dr. Edmund was on point. I love that. It got me chills. Honestly, I never heard anyone speak it like that. That was nice. Yeah. So right now, I currently attend University Prep Art and Design, and right now I'm going through the virtual course of things, and I am a senior. I've been in this school for all my high school years and previous years as well, so I know culture in school and virtually as I'm going through it now. And honestly, man,
Hey, Ronald.
What's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cause it seems like you're going in and out just slightly. I don't know if it's the headphones. Yeah,
right,
you got the headphones on. Let's try without the headphones because you were sounding a little more clear.
I'm sorry. Let me try that for you, okay?
Listen, man, we've been virtual teaching and learning.
All good. This live. This is what happens. It's all good.
Okay, say something now, Ronald.
Oh, now we got him froze. I think he froze now.
This is live television.
Hey, we'll get him back on. We'll get him back on.
So he's getting ready to. We're getting ready to ask him about his experience virtually, and one of the things I wish we would have asked Dr. Emdin, and we'll probably have an opportunity to ask on Saturday for the adults in the building, right? Obviously, we understand things, we absorb things differently. Our kids are always going to be more resilient than the adults, right? So, for those of us on the call on the show right now, what advice do we have for our fellow educators who, may, like we said, may not be as centered as Dr. Emdin, or may not be able to take every punch the way some of us may be able to take a social punch? Does anybody, Mike, Chris, Curtis, have any advice for educators who reasonably are having a hard time right now, right? It's, daylight saving times just passed, all of that. What advice do we have for those folks?
Yeah, I think you have to just remind yourself of why you do it, because it's bigger than us individually. So I think sometimes in moments when I'm feeling maybe discouraged or wore out, I have to remind myself of why I got into education to begin with. And, even with Ronald, before this call, as I was talking to him, because I know Ronald since he was in like 4th or 5th grade, it kind of reminded me because, he was a good kid, but, he was a kid. We had some issues, I taught him at one point. But I was like, man, you know what? This is why I do the work. I literally told him this. I said, this is why I do the work, because now listening to this, man, you're not even about to help us on this podcast, but you're going to help people, students, as well as educators. I'm saying just to hear how you just speak for yourself. It just reminded me, like, man, there's so much value and just so much joy just from teaching and so much value that you give as an educator, because it really did my heart good just to reconnect with a former student after a few years. So I think you just have to remind yourself of the work and remember that, you have an impact even beyond just the stressful situation you may be encountering. And it looks like we got Ronald back. So you ready to bring him back on?
Come on.
Absolutely.
Come on.
All right, cool. There we go. Ronald.
Sorry about that, fellas. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
Absolutely.
All right. Am I still lagging a little bit?
No, you all good, man.
All right. So yeah, like I was saying before that interruption, I was saying I've been in both settings, the virtual setting and in the in-school setting for a while. So now that the quarter is over, I really see the problems that we have in the virtual space, and the things we could change also, and the things that's good. So it's not just all bad. It's a work in progress. This is a work in progress, and I feel as a student that this virtual part can it can become a big help in the arsenal within school learning. So just some few points I want to get at as far as how virtual learning is affecting me. Now, like I said, I haven't always been a student. So, I've been through working from the bottom when I was, when I had some very tough moments in school as far as academics and needing one-on-one as far as, with teachers and stuff like that and things like that. And I also excelled in different places as well, too. So, as far as things that we're going through right now, I feel that turning in the work has been a very big problem for teachers and as well as students, man. The students I feel like it's really affecting the most is turning in the work, and obviously we have a teacher in here, Mr. Payne, that how turning in work, late work, and that's way past due time. How that affects your grading, and how you're going to teach your lessons for your class and how you're going to teach your kids. So turning in the work, we've been going through with this act called Schoology, and Schoology is new to me. I was used to Google Classroom. A lot of my classmates say they were used to Google Classroom. And a lot of teachers feel that the Google Classroom format is better than Schoology. So us, going through this pandemic, we're not going to like it, obviously. We're not going to like it as students, as teachers, because this wasn't in our fault. But at the end of the day,
I don't know if you can hear me.
At the end of the day, you have to get down to business.
So, Ronald, let me ask you a quick question, man. Ronald, can you hear me? I'll ask you a quick question. So, what advice would you give teachers in this space as a student? Like, what advice would you give teachers to continue to motivate them to continue to do their part in giving you the best educational experience virtually that you can receive?
Continue to have patience with your students and to hear them out mentally, because this is like it's hurting us mentally as well, because I can't sit here and talk to my teachers like I need to, and obviously that brings on a lot more problems as a teacher and as a student trying to understand different curriculums and stuff like that. So continue to have patience with some of our students, because some of our students they're going through it. It's just not school. It's just not school. Just as well as you guys, it's just not school as with you guys. So continue to have a lot of patience and communicate with your students. You really have to communicate with your students, even if it's going out your way. That shows how much you really love your job. Even if it goes out your way for some students that struggle, in your class, reach out to them. Reach out to a parent, even if it's more than once.
Hey, Ronald,
what's going on?
You mentioned earlier that there was some good that you felt coming from this. So what have you found to be like your biggest success? How would you say your biggest success and like your biggest challenge in a virtual setting? Senior year, every student looks up to their senior year. What's been like the biggest success you feel like you've had, and like the biggest thing that's been a challenge?
Honestly, showing the maturity level of myself and the responsibility of myself, because You know, it's not like I can just turn in a piece of paper, or it's not like I can go to school the next day to see my teacher and talk to him about how I'm feeling. So obviously it's taking a lot to your own hands as a student. You know, you have to teach yourself a lot more. You have to make sure these assignments, you got to make sure these assignments are the way that the teachers want them, so it's easier for their job, you know? So as a student, you know, one of the most successful things is just like, you know, having having my own personal life, you know, because with school it's a lot. 7 days a week, you know, you're there for 8 hours a day, you're in one place. It's a lot. So now that you have the freedom to just hop on your MacBook, you know, or hop on your Chromebook and just do the work and, you know, be in class for 45 minutes, not even that, you know, it shows your responsibility level, and it also shows and also gives you that freedom you need.
Hey, Ronald, man, I know I had you back your freshman year, and it's so good to see you grow from there, man. We appreciate you coming on the show, man, and sharing your perspective. I think like what's always been important to me is feedback, especially as a teacher. You know what I'm saying? Because what I do is for you. So we appreciate you sharing your feedback, man. I want to wish you well with the rest of the year, and I'm excited to hear from you in your college year, man. For sure.
Hey, and we gonna always be here if you need us, man. Always. Know
Absolutely.
That.
Of course, man. Of course.
All right.
Thank you for
Absolutely, man.
All right.
Appreciate it, bro. We're gonna talk soon.
So, gentlemen, we've been on for, what does it say, 41 minutes? We got a lot. Talked about the election, got the inspiration from Dr. Emdin and Ronald. How you guys feeling?
I feel good. I feel like, I mean, you know, I've always wanted to just give, right? And I feel like this is just from where we come from the previous episodes. Like, people can literally watch this and get better as an educator or a person. So I'm excited. I feel very blessed to be in this position to help co-host this show. So I'm just excited about what we're doing, got going on here.
I'll be honest with you, I'm tired. You know, I got 3 hours of sleep last night. I'm tired, but to everyone's point, you know, listening to Dr. Emdin, you know, I needed that. I needed to hear from Ronald. So I am going to go to sleep after this is over, but I'm going to wake up tomorrow ready to go. And then, you know, tomorrow we're 48 hours from Saturday. And so we got a taste of what Dr. Emdin is going to bring. But again, we can't wait to see everybody on Saturday for our Reimagining the Classroom, our quarterly convening, BMEA's quarterly convening. If you are interested, please register at the website, bmeaofmichigan.org/events. And we can't wait to see you all there. We will see you all on the podcast next time on November 18th. We got a lot of good stuff coming for that episode. And then, of course, follow us on all of our socials, Instagram. Well, if you're watching us now, you're on Facebook. So if you're
internet tired too,
make sure you're following us.
Can't catch that.
What'd you say?
Like your internet tired too. You kind of.
Oh, was I lagging?
Yeah, internet was.
Internet is tired.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I appreciate today, man. I know we did this the day after the election.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew it was going to be tense, right? And so this is giving me energy.
Absolutely.
And just reminding me of the work we got to do. Man, we have work to do. We have work to do, regardless of who's in office. Seriously, like, yeah, let's celebrate. Yeah, we won Michigan. We don't know who won yet. Blah blah blah. But like, regardless, we have work to do. And BMEA, we're gonna be about that work. And whoever's about that work, come join us. It's important that we are educating our youth ourselves to do this work for real. We gotta not take back, because the schools were never ours from the beginning. But we gotta reimagine this space for real, because it's our kids' lives and the future of this country that is dependent on it. So let me stop, because I'll start preaching. But we got work to do. Let's go.
So on that note, we will see everybody on Saturday at the convening, and we will see you all again for our next episode of Lifting Our Voices, the BMEA podcast.
And what's up, Brian?
We out of here.
Peace, guys.
Take care. You are now listening.
You are now listening to the Black Male Educators Alliance podcast.
Lifting our voices.
Lifting our voices.